Hey everybody, Cliff Ravenscraft here with another episode of my Snapchat / Cliff EOTC vlog. Today is Monday, March 28th, 2016, and I am starting week 3 of my current session of podcasting A to Z. My main goal for this morning and early afternoon is to get completely caught up from all the questions that came in from my podcasting A to Z students over the weekend. And I do have a call scheduled at 11 a.m. this morning with my friend Dan Miller. Last week I noticed the volume on his recording was a little low in his podcast. It should only take a few minutes to go over his mixer settings and make sure everything's all set up so that he's loud and clear in his podcast for this week's episode. It is 11:49 in the morning and I just got off my call with Dan Miller and we solved all of the problems that he was having with his audio setup. Every time that I find myself able to do anything to help Dan Miller, I find myself personally enriched through the process. There's a saying that has been going around the personal development space for years. If you want to succeed at something, find somebody who's already found success in that area. And if you want to achieve the success that they have, then do the things that they do. But I don't know that I agree fully with that statement. I think the true value is understanding why they're doing the things that they do. Once you discover the reason why they're doing what they're doing, you can then decide whether or not it makes sense for you to duplicate that. I want to give you an example. There are a lot of people out there who have a podcast today and they do one thing at the beginning of every episode. They hit the record button and the first words that they record into their podcast is the name of their show and their episode number. Let me give you a few examples from my own podcasts.
Podcast Answer Man, episode number 438. Family from the Heart, podcast episode number 355.
You see, the interesting thing is that if you listen to a lot of podcasts today, they start exactly like that, starting with the name of the podcast and the episode number. And my podcasting A to Z students, when they're getting ready to launch their podcast, they ask the question, hey Cliff, why do people do this? I love that they ask the question because a lot of people do it because they see me do it. You see, there are a lot of people who have decided that they want to achieve a lot of the success with podcasting that I've achieved. And they've been told to find somebody out there who's already doing things in podcasting that they want to achieve themselves and to simply do whatever it is that they're doing. And because of that advice, there are now thousands of podcasts that start every episode by announcing the name of the show followed by the episode number. But the interesting thing is that if you were to ask me why I do it, it really wouldn't make sense for you to go and follow my example by doing it yourself if the same circumstances don't apply. And the reason I used to do that, and just in case you're interested, on Thursdays for years, I would record several podcast episodes in one day, every Thursday for years. And not of the same podcast, but different shows, like 5 different podcasts in one day. At the end of the day, I would process them all, and then I would publish all of them to one website under different categories. And to make sure that I had published each podcast episode to the right category, I would click play and listen to the first few seconds of the episode just to make sure that it was the right show, right episode in the right category. And so if you happen to have only one podcast and you're only publishing one episode every week, does it make sense for you to do the same thing? Maybe, maybe not. But at least know the reason why somebody's doing what they're doing. So when it comes to that advice of finding people who are achieving success in an area that you want to one day achieve that level of success, my advice isn't to simply find out what they're doing and then do that yourself. Instead, I suggest becoming a student of how those people think, becoming a student of what causes those people to take action in their life. How do they learn? And yes, I do think it's important to look and see the things that they do and how they do them. And then you can make wise decisions on saying, you know what, these are the things that I think I want to incorporate from what I've learned from this person. And how this ties into how I'm enriched every time I get an opportunity to help Dan Miller or to be on a call with him or to talk with him in any conversation. You see, Dan Miller is somebody who I look up to, I admire, and has achieved so much success in the areas that I want to achieve success in. And every time I have an interaction with him, I'm paying attention to how I feel when he talks to me. And then I pay attention to how does he make me feel that way? What words does he use to communicate his thoughts and ideas that encourages me and inspires me? And beyond that, when does he carefully choose and how does he choose not to use words? When does he listen? How does he listen? The way that he asks questions, even though he could just give me an answer, I love how he leads me to come up with an answer for myself. All of that to say that every interaction that I have with somebody who is a mentor of mine or people that I want to learn from, there's always much more that can be learned than what is just currently being talked about. Hey guys, it is now 4:16 in the afternoon and it has been an awesome day so far. I finished answering all the questions that were in my podcasting A to Z forums. My accountant had sent me over all of my quarterly taxes information and I've processed that and got it all taken care of. And at 3 o'clock this afternoon, I had a 1-hour next level coaching call. I've been offering some one-on-one coaching to those who are looking to take their message, their business, or their life to the next level. This is more along the lines of life and business coaching and not so much technical consulting related to podcasting. Eventually I'll get around to doing a 3-month coaching package or something like that, but for right now I've been doing one-off calls at $300 per hour. What I love about the call that I just had was that my client had a pretty big breakthrough within the first 5 minutes regarding something he was thinking about starting. And I will tell you, I love one-on-one coaching and the feeling I have afterwards, knowing that my client has had some big breakthroughs, knowing that they have more clarity and focus on what to do next. I used to be intimidated by working with people who may actually have more success in other areas of life than I do. But what these coaching calls consistently remind me of is the fact that we all have areas of strengths and weaknesses. And trust me, I'm all about focusing on operating out of our strengths. It's a very important thing to learn to do. But every now and then we can get so hyper-focused on just taking action on the things that we're great at and the things that we're most passionate about that we forget to ask some pretty big questions. And these coaching calls have really helped me understand the value of my experience in all of the self-reflection and all of the questions that I consistently ask myself routinely. And of course, I'm reminded of just how valuable a 1-hour conversation really can be to somebody. It can be a life-changing thing. I'm reminded of a call that I had many years ago. Somebody had an opportunity in the world of podcasting. That person hired me for 1 hour at the time to get some ideas on how to monetize what was in front of them. Through that conversation, it became quite evident that there was a lot of opportunity for monetization in what he was pursuing. One of the things that came up early in our conversation regarding this opportunity that he had was just how much time this opportunity was taken away from his family life and how unhappy his wife was. We shifted that conversation and didn't talk about monetization for the rest of the call. In fact, after our 1 hour together, he made the decision to cut back drastically on that opportunity, completely hauled off on any monetization whatsoever related to it. He immediately began to implement 3 things consistently that I recommended to improve his marriage. 6 months later, he wrote me an email to personally thank me for that 1 hour call. He told me that, number 1, that call definitely saved his marriage. And number 2, he told me that just a couple weeks after our call, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer. After that diagnosis, he had shut down and ceased all podcasting efforts, focused only on his recovery, his job, and his wife. He told me that it was because of the advice that I gave him that he felt like that's why his wife was still there at the time. By the way, I will tell you that this friend has been cancer-free for several years now, and I still get updates from him all the time. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about the fact that I'm expanding my coaching well beyond the technical aspects of podcasting. Oh, and 2 other things have come out of my most recent coaching sessions that I've done. Some of the advice, 2 pieces of advice that I've given to 2 different individuals, they're things that I need to implement as well. So it's helping me also.
Okay, so it is now 6:30 p.m. and Stephanie just left to take McKenna to dance class. And she's also picking up Megan from a driver's training program that she was at this evening. But just before she left, we were able to sit down and watch one episode of House of Cards together. We only have 2 more episodes left here in season 4, and then we're gonna have that finished. And while she's out doing that running, I'm going to hop onto this elliptical and spend the next hour watching an episode of The Tudors. Okay, so I got in 45 minutes of cardio this evening, and I'm going to wrap up my vlog for the day. So until next time, I encourage you to take everything that you're doing to the next level.